Photoshop just released an amazing new AI feature that allows you to blend different images together to create seamless composites. Let me show you how you can use it to create realistic product mockups, photo swapping, and portrait relighting. And stick around to the end because I'm going to show you how to get your lost skin textures and details back from our AI overlords. So let's get creative. All right, here we are in Photoshop, and I'm using the latest version of Photoshop Beta. So this is Adobe Photoshop Beta 26.10.0. Now, in order to get this, you just want to open the Adobe Creative Cloud app. And from the home screen, you're going to go to apps and then click on, you'll start at this screen, just click on the beta tab right here, and then just download the Photoshop Beta. Make sure it's 26.10.0 or later, as this feature should expectedly still be there. And now I'm just going to show you 3 examples. And the first one is going to be a product mockup. So I'm going to swap in my own product picture to replace this cosmetic jar here. So the first thing is I'm going to click L for the lasso brush, and I'm just going to brush over this and make sure to include these shadows down here, this reflection down here, because that will show up. And now from the contextual taskbar, you'll have generative fill or just remove. That's also a recent feature. We're just going to click on remove and then let it work its magic. All right, so that jar is gone. And let me just get some water here. Let's dehydrate it, baby. But we're going to drag in our image, my product image, and let me just drag that on in here, scale it up, and then click on remove background from the contextual taskbar. All right, so now let's just rename this to bottle and convert it into a smart object so that that layer mask will be merged in there. So it's about right there. Now I'm gonna, as you can see, once you have a picture that doesn't have the background, in the contextual taskbar, you'll see this new feature right here, harmonize. Merge objects into a scene by matching color, lighting, and shadows. And so let me just click on it right there. But if you want to know where this feature lives, it's actually in the layer panel. So layer, and then you're going to go down to harmonize. It's right here in the 4th group from the top. So under new adjustment layer, you have harmonize. So let's just click on that and then allow it to work. All right. Now, sometimes the results are better than others. I personally don't love this, but it does give you something decent to work with in most cases. So here's the first variation, here's the second variation, and here's the 3rd variation. Now you'll see these variations in the properties panel. I've moved mine over here to the left because my screen is big, and you know I'm going to take advantage of that. But this isn't perfect, but of course you can go in here and spruce it up a little bit. I can throw in a curves adjustment layer, you know, maybe change it to green, and then just press Control I on that layer mask. Control I. Oh, that's really weird. Let's just go to image adjustments and invert. All right, now I'm gonna click on my brush tool, and I'm just gonna paint in some light with my white as my foreground color. It's gonna paint in some light on this. Well, let's actually clip this to the harmonized layer mask, and then just click on that mask and just paint in some light here, you know, just to make it kind of shine on this side a little bit. So here's the after. May remove it from like some parts over here. But you can spend all the time you need to get that showing good. But I mean, it's added shadows underneath the bottle and even a little blurred out reflection right here. And so it's a pretty good start, and it's maintained the text on the bottle as well, which is really, really cool. You know, it kept the graphic intact. So let me just show you the before. Here's the before and here's the after. So those black streaks on the bottle are actually part of the original image, not part of the harmonized feature. So that's really, really powerful and really, really useful that it does that. And so our second example, we're going to look at putting a person inside of a scene and kind of generating those shadows and everything under them. So we have this city street here, and I'm just going to center that on screen and then pull in my subject. So I have this girl sitting on kind of like this pedestal / box. Place her there. Then I'm going to go to remove background. All right, now it still has on top of the box, and you could definitely place her like that if you wanted to, you know, do whatever you want. But let's have a little fun. Let's go to the object selection tool. Here it is under the quick selection brush or quick selection tool. Let's go to object selection tool, and then just make sure on the settings cogwheel right here, object finder is on. And then I'm just going to click on that pedestal. It got some of her foot here. So let's just hold Alt or Option and select those shoes. Make sure they're not in there. There you go. And then from the mask, I'm going to click on that layer mask, shift backspace, and then fill it with black to remove that. You can also just use a brush and paint black on the mask. But then press Control or Command D to deselect it now. I'm going to rename this layer girl, right click and convert to smart object. Now let's place her, well, first of all, we have to select our move tool and let's place her right where we want her to be. So maybe like there. We're going to have to scale her down a little bit, make her look somewhat realistic. It's not going to be a perfect composite, but just a quick kind of example of how this feature works. Let's place her maybe right there and then click this harmonize feature on the contextual taskbar. All right, so let's take a closer look at these results. So here's the before and here is the after. All right, so it's added this little shadow right beneath where she's sitting, right there behind her shoes, which is pretty cool. Even underneath her shoes, to also add a little bit of lighting on these shoes itself, which is kind of added like a bluish tint because of the yellow light. And overall, it's pretty decent. But one big thing you'll notice is that her skin and her face looks a bit different. She almost looks like a different person to some extent, you know, or just with an extreme beauty filter or something on. And in order to fix this a little bit, I'm actually going to show you how to get some of the skin texture and face details back if it does end up changing your picture too much. But this is just kind of a general example of how this thing is working. Now, one thing to notice is that you could always take the shadows and things from this harmonized layer. You could kind of select them with a lasso and just use them like on your original picture if you wanted to kind of play around with it like that. It is a quick cheat code to get some realistic shadows, but let me show you how to actually restore some of those skin details. So let's go to our third scene and example, and we have this portrait, this close-up portrait photo of this young guy. We're going to actually swap him out for a different person just so you can see the extent of these AI features. So I'm just going to place him down there, the soldier guy, remove background, and then let's scale him down to be about where we want him to be. So maybe like something like that. Doesn't have to be perfect, but let's rename this layer to soldier, and then we're going to right click, convert to smart object. Now let's hide that layer, click our background layer, and then go to select subject. Okay, now after we have select our subject selected, we're going to go up to select, modify, and expand. And that's expanded by about 25 pixels. Drop it. Oh, they have a slider now. That's interesting. Never saw that before. So let's pick 25 pixels and click OK. Now we're going to go to remove from the contextual taskbar. All right, so just so you notice, that quick pop-up said remove uses generative AI, but it does not subtract from your generative AI credits. Pretty cool. So let's show our soldier layer again. And now we're going to harmonize him into this background. Let's click on that. And let's see what it gives us. All right, so that harmonized layer was actually below my soldier layer. So let's click on the soldier layer and then click on harmonize. All right, there we go. So let's see the before and here's the after. Zoom in a little bit on those results. Here's the before and here's the after. Now, this is actually not too bad. Sometimes you'll get real plasticky skin. Now, this one may be a little bit more plasticky than the first. Yeah, this one has a little bit of skin texture still maintained. This one has a little bit less of the skin texture maintained. Now, if you do get a result like this, where it seems like the skin details have been lost to some extent, I'm just going to show you a quick way to kind of compensate for that. So for this harmonized layer, let's just press Control or Command J to duplicate that. And let's name the bottom one color. And we're going to name the top one luminosity. Now that's hold Alt or Option on the Mac and click and drag that soldier layer to the top and just rename this texture. So let's just hide those top two layers and start with the color layer. We're going to change our blend mode to color. So it basically just takes the color of that harmonized layer and applies that to the original image. Now we're gonna, and you can adjust how much of that color you want to affect your original image. So you could bring it down, you know, and bring it in as much as you want. Just gives you a little bit more finer control. And we're gonna change this, show this luminosity layer and change it to luminosity. All right. And again, you can affect how much of that lighting you want to influence your image. Now, in order to get our texture back, let's turn that texture layer on. And first, we're going to do a solid color adjustment layer that's set to gray and change the blend mode to color. Then hold Alt or Option and let's clip it to that texture layer. Now, the reason we did that instead of just like Control or Command U, hue and saturation, is because that this sometimes changes the lighting and contrast on your image when you turn it to black and white. So solid color adjustment layer, grayscale layer is just a little bit more accurate. But in any case, once you have your texture layer, we're going to click on that texture layer and we're going to go to Filter, other high pass. And let's start with a value of about 10 and then click OK. And then change the blending mode of that texture layer to overlay or soft light. You can play around with it, but let me just show you the before and after of that. So here's before the texture layer and here's after. You just see those skin pores and those details in the face a little bit more clearly. And you can play around with the value of your high pass. Like if you wanted something even more extreme, like 30, you might even go up to 50 or, whatever have you. It's going to get a little bit absurd after a while, but let's maybe choose like 25, click OK. And then we're going to group all of these layers together just to see the total before and after. So let's name this harmonized and let's go to the before. Here's the after. Let's zoom out a little bit and let's see. Here's the before and here's the after. So those are just 3 cool ways you can use the new harmonize feature in Photoshop beta. So go ahead and give it a try. What are some creative ways you're using the new harmonize feature in Photoshop? Let me know in the comments, and remember, take chances, make mistakes, and create something incredible. Grace and peace.